Hello and welcome to a very dimly lit episode 49 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. I've got quite a lot to share with you this week, so I'm not going to muck about, I'm going to get on with it. I'm going to start with a finished object. I managed to finish, in fact the day after I recorded the last podcast, my Botanic Shawl by Stephen West. It's pretty big. I'm not going to fit it all in on the screen. I blocked it, and I did block it out a little bit, or down really. It's humongous. Oh, sorry. I got caught up. This is how I generally wear my shawls, and it's very long. Oh, hang on. Oh, pause. Sorry, I've got raging hay fever, and that was a sneeze. I've got sneeze tissues on hand because I've done nothing but sneeze because I made the mistake of opening a window. I have had an antihistamine. It is not working. Yes, this is going to be a very big and cosy scarf shawl, but it's also a reasonable size for wearing, now my nose is running, as a shawl. Bear with me while I wrestle my way in. Yes, it's huge. I'm very pleased with it. I knit it in West Yorkshire Spinners Licorice, which is the black main colour, and I used for the contrast colour Zorba Ball Smoking Area. I got it wrong last week, but I remembered this week. Yeah, so you can see the Zorba Ball transitions through the green, grey, beautiful blue, back to grey, green, lighter grey, burgundy, and then it just repeats all the way through. I really love this. I'm so pleased I made it, and so pleased that I saved the Zorba Ball, which I'd bought to make socks with a long time ago, 18 months, maybe longer, and didn't make socks with it, and I'm really pleased that I didn't, because I had enough to do this and a little bit left over, which might end up in some socks. I think I've got enough for shorties, certainly, or trainer socks as I call them. So yeah, really pleased with that. That is my finished object. I will give you a very swift whip update. Would you like to see the progress on my Flax Light? Are you ready? I had a bit of an accident. What happened really was, I sat down to knit on it after I'd done a whole load of housework, after having 2 very badly broken nights' sleep, thanks to Rocket, Ewan's cat, who's taken to coming and sitting on the floor in the middle of my bedroom and yowling like someone is tearing his legs off because he wants me to wake up and give him some fuss. Slight side note here. Last night when he did it, I prepared some ammunition. I've got some very light slippers, light in weight, although they are also light in colour, but light in weight slippers. And when he started his yowling, I just threw a slipper into the darkness. Made no difference whatsoever. He carried on yowling. I wasn't aiming for him because it was dark and he's black and I hadn't got my glasses on, so I was just trying to disrupt the concert, and it didn't work. So when he came back at 3 o'clock in the morning and started again, I kicked him out the bedroom and shut the door. I don't know how to break him of this habit. He doesn't do it all the time, but he'll get it into his head and he'll do it for a week or so, and it is just awful. I was awake for 2 hours because it wakes you up with a start. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with knitting. So I started knitting on this, and I was really, really tired. And what I should have done is had 15 minutes nap and then tried to do some knitting, but I didn't. And I looked at it and I was knitting away and I thought, oh, I've made a mistake. There's a little hole. So I laddered down and I thought, well, that's not right, because the two bits of fabric either side of the hole weren't joined. I thought, I must have at some point knit back in the other direction. Well, there's nothing to do but pull it back to that point. So I started pulling it back to that point, and I got to a stage where the yarn did indeed start going backwards and forwards. And I thought, aha, oh, wait a minute. That's where I did the short rows. I'd completely forgotten that I'd put short rows into it. And all I'd needed to do really was, I'd obviously not picked one up quite as well as the others. All I needed to do was use a spare bit of thread and just close the hole. But I'd started pulling it down, and I'd taken it off the needles and off the cables that were holding the sleeves, and there were a million stitches to pick back up. So I sat with it on my lap for about 15 minutes while I let the rage ebb away. And I thought, do I want it so badly that I'm prepared to pick up all the stitches? And the answer was no, not really. So I pulled it all down, and it's going to be a blanket with some other kind of orphan yarns that haven't got a project specifically for them, that have been hanging around for a while. And it is a blanket that I've been hankering to make, so I'm just going to do that with it. Doesn't matter. I was saying on the group last night, I think this yarn is cursed anyway, because Poppy, when she was a kitten, I used to keep my yarn in bags, and she got into a bag and she took out 200-gram balls of this yarn and disemboweled it. There's no other way to describe what she did. Yarn bath in the extreme, all over the craft room. It took me 5 hours to rewind and untangle one ball. So it's had a hard life. So I think it might relish being a nice blanket. So that's that. The Flax Light is gone, which is a little bit sad, because it was intended to be my entry into Karen from a Yarn Tales Tin Can Knits knit along. I'm going to check and see when it finishes. I can knit something else. Might have to be something small, but yeah. Sorry if I keep sniffing. As I say, it is the hay fever. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry for the interruptions. Now I'm going to start the coughing. Right, on to the main business of today. Saturday was the long-awaited cast-on party. Oh, the excitement. I had prepared, because I'm trying to prop my book up because I've not got the little table today. I am a person who likes to prepare. So I had 5 projects all prepared in their project bags, yarn, needles, pattern, all ready to go. And then a spanner got thrown into my works, and it was a very lovely spanner, because Saturday morning I was gifted, between Tonya and my husband, I was gifted 3 patterns from my Ravelry wish list and favourites. And of course, I wanted to knit those straight away. So I took one of my projects out because I wasn't really that struck with it. I wanted to use up some of my summer weight yarns. I have to have a drink again. I'm so sorry. Honestly, I'm fine till I start talking to you. Perhaps I'm allergic to you. There's a thought. Yeah, I wanted to use up some of my summer weight yarns. So I'd fished through my patterns and I'd found this pattern. And I thought, well, I'll knit that. But I didn't really love it. So I took that one out and inserted one of the other patterns that I'd been given. So I actually ended up casting on 7 projects. Before the party I had them all ready in bags, yarn wound if it needed to be, needles, patterns ready to go. And my plan was to set a timer and work on each project for an hour. So that meant I had to stay at the party for at least 7 hours. The party didn't begin in the UK until 5:30 in the evening. We had Jane, who used to be Mouse Knits and Crafts. She did a pre-party, but I didn't want to cast on anything then because I had a plan. And so I just worked on other things during that. So knowing that I had to be at the party for at least 7 hours, I thought, right, I've got to stay up past my bedtime. And my bedtime is usually about 10 o'clock. So I set my timer. I arranged my projects with the most complicated ones at the beginning and the slightly less challenging towards the end, knowing that I would be tired by then, because not only would it be past my bedtime, but at dinner time I take some tablets to help with my nerve pain, and they invariably knock me out about 2 hours later. So I was going to have to fight the tablets as well. Well, let me tell you, I managed to stay on till 3:15 in the morning. I'm astounded. I went up to bed and I I cast on 2 projects in bed. So for 2 hours I was in bed. And then at 3 o'clock it got to the point where it might be like Cinderella's coach turns back into a pumpkin at midnight. At 3 o'clock, check your knitting patterns, because they suddenly become written in some extraterrestrial alien language that you can make no sense of. So I had to stop knitting at 3 o'clock. And I thought, well, I've stopped knitting, I might as well lie down. Big mistake. Turned off my camera, thought I'll listen to the chat, I can chip in. Yeah. Well, when I woke up 15 minutes later, I just told everybody I was sorry I'd got to go. And that was the end of my party. Caroline from Aria Bark stayed on till 7:30 in the morning. She is an absolute star. I don't know how she did it. Sheer strength of will, I'm sure. But we are not worthy, Caroline. So anyway, here I go again. I'll show you what I cast on. So this was my first cast on. Denise from Dear Designs and I cast on 3 of the same things. And this was one of them. This is a free pattern. And it's called Vincasse by Velicor. Free pattern. It's available on Ravelry and I think also on the Velicor website. I'll try and add links below for both. Hang on, sneeze break. Sorry, this is just ridiculous. And you know that at some point I'm going to pause to have my sneeze and then forget to press record again, and I'll be talking to you for ages and not recording. It's bound to happen. Right, so I've got this far. I've cast mine on in purple. Denise is doing a colour which is quite similar to the pattern, a bit more pink than orangey toned. And oddly enough, we've both stopped at the same place, because the next section, the instructions for how to do that stitch are a bit tricky. I'm just going to say tricky. I'm sure once you actually do it, it's going to be one of those things that looks more difficult than it is. It just looks difficult when it's written down. But yeah, we both paused at the same point. I did not get all this done within my hour. I got up to this stitch marker done within my hour. So I got it cast on and ribbed up to there, and the rest I did on Monday, because this is on my knitting rota for Monday. So it's knit in pieces, front and back, and seamed together. So far I'm absolutely loving it. The pattern changes often enough to keep you interested. There is, of course, the front to do, and the back and front are exactly the same. So how long that interest will last remains to be seen. Excuse me, the ball ran away, as these things are wont to do. So that was my first cast on. I'm just going to pile this all up and deal with it later. This is the stage we're at now. I have run out of proper project bags and I've had to put things in shopping bags that I got from the midwife or the health visitor when Ewan was a newborn, and Ewan is 20 now. So that's serving its time, I think. Right, second cast on, and this was one of my gifts. Oh, I didn't tell you what yarn I was using, did I? I'm knitting this in, that's because I sneezed in the middle and threw myself off, Stylecraft Linen Drape, and this is shade 3949, which is Eggplant. And you can't really see because the light is ghastly today. Let me see if I can tip you around a bit. No. We're back to jiggling things around, trying to get a decent light. It's a really nice purple. It's looking a bit more yellow on there than it is in real life, but it's a nice true sort of emperor purple. This is a bad day to be recording a podcast. Right, so this is my second cast on, and it was one of my gifts, and it is, if I can find the right page, Velicor, I think it's pronounced, by Drea Renee Knits, so Andrea Mowry. And I'm knitting this in Stylecraft Linen Drape again, but this time in pewter, which is 3947, and in Drops Cotton Light in colour 01. All the yarns for all the projects have come out of my stash, so some of them are not necessarily the prescribed yarn for the garment, but I've substituted similar things. I haven't got very far with this, as you can see. Let me try and jiggle it around. I've done this much, so I've just started on the patterning. The rib, all 8 rows of the rib took me about 6 hours. I put this quite early in my cast on queue because I knew it was going to be a little bit of a challenge. It's knit on toothpicks, and there are, no exaggeration, 400 stitches. It's quite a boxy sweater, and it's knit in the round to begin with, and it's you start off on 2.75mm, and these are 3.25 for the main body. Toothpicks, I'm telling you. It is quite enjoyable to knit though. The rib is cabled. I don't know if you can see that. I cast on 400 stitches with everybody chattering in the background and everybody saying numbers. But I managed it, and I managed to cast on the right number of stitches. I did them in blocks of 50, put in a stitch marker, checked I got 50, moved on to the next block. It felt like it took days, but I got it on. I didn't leave enough It's a twisted German cast on, and I didn't leave enough yarn, so I had to add in another ball, so I've got an extra couple of ends to sew in. But I think I'm going to love it. And I've chosen a size that if it does stretch, as this yarn has done to me before, it won't matter, because it's meant to be an oversized boxy garment, so that won't matter. I knit 2 rows. I cast on without my timer, and I knit 2 rows within my hour because I was setting up the cable pattern. And then I picked it up yesterday and finished the rib, and I did row number 3 and discovered that when I'd joined it in the round, I twisted it. So I had a kind of Mobius thing going on. But it was only the 3rd row, so I just twisted it straight. Let me see if I can show you. You can't really tell. A little bit of a hike in it there. Oh, this isn't working very well. But I don't think you can tell. And if you can, I'll just deal with that when I sew in the ends. Yeah. I'm not hurt by the fact that I'd twisted it, because I think I did flaming well to get that far with it. It was so many stitches and such long cable and really, really hard. And I had planned to make another one. This obviously I'm doing in sort of summer materials, and I had planned to do another one in wools as like an over tank for winter. I'm still thinking I will, but probably not while there are 15 people chattering and saying numbers while I'm doing it. Luckily no one was playing music. If someone's playing music, hello Pops, I cannot count. The music steals what little brain power I've got, and I can't count. I know. You want your windowsill now, don't you? You want a windowsill. Hang on then, hang on. Right, I will just rearrange everything for you, madam. 2 seconds while we facilitate Miss Poppins. There you go. Right, so my 3rd cast on. Yes, I'll move that too. I beg your pardon. Can I borrow your bed for a minute though? Is that okay? It's not okay. Hang on. Poppy, you're such a bossy boiler. Now there's going to be a really big mess to clear up, isn't there? Because I'm going to have to put it all on the floor. Cats. Who'd have them? You better go in your bed now I've emptied it. She was just offended stuff was in her bed. She doesn't really care. Right, this is the second thing that Denise Deer designs and I have cast on, and it's the Streamlined Tank by 2 of Wands. It's a black and white picture. It's not terribly easy for you to see. This was cast on number 3. Chaos in here now. And I can't tell you what this cotton yarn is because I have no idea. It has been knit into 2 things before that have been pulled down, and one's just escaped. So I've got loads of little balls of it. This is just descending into chaos, more chaos than normal. And who is at the centre of that chaos? That's who. Right, so I got this far. I got this far with my Streamline Tank. Not very far. And I also realised after I'd done a few rows that I was supposed to be doing a half twisted rib. But so long as I remember do the same on the front as I've done on the back. That ship has sailed. I don't care. So it's a pink cotton of some description. Can't tell you what it is or where I got it. I've had it for a few years, and as I say, I've knitted up twice before, and I think the first thing I knit was too small, and the second thing I just didn't like, so it got pulled back down. I'm fairly certain I've got enough yarn for this because what I was making before had little cap sleeves. So, I mean, this is a tank, so you've probably got a quarter less yarn that you need. Did that make sense? You need a quarter less yarn. That's better. So hopefully there's enough for that. That was number 3. Cast on number 4, which is the third cast on that Denise and I are both doing the same. And this was completely unplanned. We just both happened to choose 3 projects the same. Is yet another rocket tea. I know. But now Denise has tried it, she is also a convert to the cult of rocket tea. And I'm making it in some rather special yarns. The first one, this is White Mice from Little Mouse House. The second one, my favourite pink again, is Montague from Little Lycat Yarns, from her Shakespeare collection. And third one, I don't know if you can see that in its full glory, I might have to move a bit closer, is Squished Kermit from Caroline at Ariabark. Caroline and Andrew sent me that for my birthday, and it is a lovely pale green with a pinky red splotch, speckle. It's a bit more than a speckle. So that is the 3 yarns that I'm using for this one. I'm doing a slightly different size to the one I knit last time in 3 yarns because it came out a little bit smaller. So I don't know if I'd perhaps done something different with my tension because I was swapping between yarns. But I've gone up a size anyway. And I got that much done. Which isn't very much really in my hour before my timer went off, and I'm trying valiantly to get you to see the green with the pink. It's not too bad. That was the next one. Haven't got very far with it because I only had an hour on each project, and that one will be knit on, let me see, Friday. That's on the rota for Friday, just in case you were wondering. Number 5, I think. Number 5 was another of my gift patterns, and it's called the, let me check the pronunciation, Xiomara. It's the Xiomara Wrap, and it is by Skein and Sticks Designs. And oh, she has gone in her bed. That's all right then. I'll forgive her. Yet again, I have picked out some yarn from Stash, but this yarn, let me bring you around a little bit. This yarn had been put aside for this wrap before I was bought the pattern. So when I'd seen this pattern, I'd put it into my favourites and known that this was the yarn I was going to use. This is yet again in a shopping bag because that's what we're reduced to. So I'm using, I've got two of these. It's Hobie or Hobby Lollipop in colour 03, which is blues. Cool blues, warm blues. I've got two of those. I've started one, and this is as far as I got with my allotted hour. As you can see, I've also had to resort to straight needles for a couple of these projects. Normally, even if they say to use straight needles, I'll use circulars because they're just more comfortable. I'd run out of circulars. We have a bit of a situation. So I've done 12 rows. You can already see the pattern starting to come. It's quite a simple little pattern. Pretty intuitive. And this is going to be really relaxing to knit. The yarn, which I've never used before, is really soft and fluffy and warm. It's a wrap, but I mean, wrap, scarf, same difference. What I'm planning to do, because I've got 2 cakes of this, but they're not the prescribed yarn, so I don't know quite how I'm going to do for length. Once I've knitted up the first one, if I think 2 isn't going to be long enough, I have got this, which I can put in the middle. This is Karen Cakes in something to do with kiwis. Blueberry kiwi. However, I've got this and another cake of Karen, but in different colours, that I would quite like to make a blanket or another one of these wraps out of. So I'm only going to use that if the 2 cakes of lollipop aren't going to be enough. But they might be. I don't know. I don't know till I knit it up and see how long it's going to end up. But yeah. So that was an hour's work on project number 5. Back in there. This was the point that I went upstairs and got into bed because everybody else wanted to go to bed. Ewan had been at work. Dave had had a busy day running Peter and his dad to the station. They had a day in Bristol and picking them up and running Ewan to and from work, and in between times he'd been working in the garden and providing me with drinks and snacks while I did marathon knitting things. So everybody wanted to go to bed, so I took myself and my laptop up to bed, and that's where the rot set in. So I'd prepared some less challenging projects, shall we say, for later in the evening. And this is, I'm just going to show you this picture. I don't think I'm giving away any information. This is the Round and Round Cowl by Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady. I've forgotten her surname. It's not Kay Jones, that's Bakery Bears. Now I'm going to have a look. You're all shouting it at me, I know. And I know it's not the name I'm thinking of. Lytton. Kay Lytton, Crazy Sock Lady. So the pattern is designed, well, primarily for using up scraps, although really you can do whatever you like with it. So I chose what have I done with that now? How very odd. Right. This is not going as well as I'd hoped today. I chose to use this for the ribbing at either end. And this is some drops alpaca that was left over from the test knit I did for Alex from My Yarny Corner for her Autumn Leaves shawl. So I had a little bit of each of the colours left, and I chose this because it goes very well with this. And I seem to have completely lost the tag. It's not in there. I don't know what I've done with it. So at this precise moment in time, I can't tell you what this yarn is, which is a little bit annoying. I know it's 100% merino, but that's not really any help to anybody, is it? Right, it's got all those different colours in it on a black background. And I really wanted to pick up the orange, which is why I chose that to go with it. I am going to pause the camera and have a look and see if I can find what I've done with the ball band. No idea where it's gone. I cannot find it. I might be able to put in the description what it's called, because I bought it from Ruth of Ruth Loves to Knit in a D-stash last year. So I might be able to find in my messages with her what it's called. But I can't believe I've lost the ball band, because I normally tuck them in. Unless it fell out in bed. I might have to have a look in my bedroom, under the bed or somewhere. Yes, so that was cast on number 6, and that is, today I get to work more on that. So I should get the ribbing finished. This, as I say, is Drops Alpaca, and it is 2925. So it's kind of an orangey. It's lovely and soft. Poppy looks so cute. I'm going to show you in a minute. Yeah, so I'll try and put in the description below what this yarn is, because that's really annoying me. But I did look at cast on number 7 while I was looking for that ball band, and see that I've lost one of the ball bands from this as well, which makes me suspect that they're probably in my bed somewhere. Oh no, I've got it here. Oh, I don't know then. Not a clue. Right, this was another of my gifts on Saturday morning, and this is the Exordium shawl by Rebecca Picot, and I saw this. Oh, hang on, you can't really see it very well. I saw it on Ruth Loves to Knit, her latest podcast, and I think I saw it Friday. She's knit it in a lovely yellow and blue in solidarity with Ukraine, and oh, it just, I had to have it. So it went straight into my wish list, and my husband very kindly bought it for me instead of an Easter egg. Less calories. But again, I had yarn in stash that I thought was perfect. So for this one, I'm using, and you'll have to excuse the fact that this looks a bit like a dirty dishcloth, because I'd already knit this up into something and then I wasn't enjoying it. So I took it off the needle, but I didn't pull it down, and I only pulled it down Saturday, ready to knit this. So it's all still a little bit crinkled, but it'll sort itself out when I wash it and block it. This, which isn't coming out, that's a bit better. This is Lamb Lotto by Ducky Darlings, which is a gorgeous creamy base with burgundies and oranges and golds. And you need 2 contrasting yarns for this shawl. And so I also fished out, which was given to me for Christmas, this yarn by Ducky Darlings. If I hold it back here, you get a better idea of. And this is Brew. And what you can't really see very well is that, let me cover my face up, they both have very similar speckles. So the Brew has the orange and the burgundy, the same as the Lamb Lotto. So I thought they are going to really complement each other. They'll contrast. There's enough difference between the light and the dark to show off the stitch patterns in the shawl, but the fact that they're speckled in similar colours will be a bit more cohesive, even though this one is an ordinary ply and this one is a high twist. I don't think that's going to matter because they're meant to be different. So that was my last cast on, and that was an hour's work on it. And at that point, the extraterrestrials took over my knitting pattern. And all it was telling me to do was add in the other colour and start striping the rows. I could not make head or tail of that instruction. So that's when I gave up knitting for the night. But yes, very, very happy with all my cast-ons. They've all gone into a rotor. I have my new rotor. I had to rearrange it all because now I have, well, it's gone down one since yesterday, but I have 2 sweaters, one 4-ply and one Aran, 3 tees, a tank, a cowl, a shawl, am I missing anything? A wrap, my crocheted granny go round cardigan, and at the moment 5 scrappy blankets. Oh, and 2 pairs of socks. So there had to be some kind of organisation going on. And I've chosen rota because I won't get bored. I will, I've got 2 projects, at least 2 projects on every day. And I like routine. I am a creature of habit, so I can come and look at my list in the morning and say, today, for example, I'm working on my colourwork jumper, which I'm down to just going round and round, and my cowl. So I am all organised. I'm not going to show you all of them every week. I think what I'm going to do is just show you if there's some significant progress on something, show you that. Yeah. Oh, I did have one more thing to tell you. Someone actually, bless them, Peggy I think it was, commented on my last video and said, you need to check out Dear Designs. You've won a prize. Well, I did know I'd won the prize. And in actual fact, the doorbell rang while I was recording last week and it was my prize being delivered. But I haven't asked Denise, which was stupid because I've spent hours on Zoom with her since then and I keep forgetting. I haven't asked her if it's okay to show you what my prize is. The reason being, I don't know if she's giving everyone the same prize and I don't want to spoil it for everyone. I should explain. It was a prize for March's Year of the Sock 2022, which Denise is running. I won the March prize. Well, they might all be the same, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone else. But I'm very happy with my prize, and you will no doubt see it cast on, oops, that's a bit of a clue, in the future. And I think that's everything. I've completely lost my little book of notes because I had to reorganise my Poppy. She's snoring. Yes, that is everything. Right, I will, as usual, upload, and as soon as it's uploaded, I'll go and add all the links. Might take me a little bit of time this week, and I will see if I can find out what that yarn for my cowl is called. I know if I look in our messages, I'll find the name. I don't know what I've done with the ball band, which is very aggravating. I can't imagine I've thrown it out. That's not the sort of thing I would do. It'll be here somewhere. I might have found it by next week, but I will try and put the name of the yarn in the description for those of you who are curious. And that really is everything. Oh, that's not too bad. I thought I was going to go on for hours. 45 minutes. So, just before we go, I'll give you a little peek at the mess maker and the mess. So, here she is. Look at her there. Butter wouldn't melt, would it? Hello? You're tired. You've been doing so much naughtiness, you are worn out. Poor pups. So there she is, and this is the mess that has resulted from Her Majesty having to have her windowsill back. I may be some time. So I will see you next week. And until then, happy knitting.